Here we go. Hi, everybody. As we get this show number 732 underway, it's a beautiful day in Sausalito. David James is saying, Gordon Smith saying good evening from Denmark, Bob Walker checking in from North Texas. Clark Chapin, G'day from temporarily sunny Plymouth, Michigan. Well, in Michigan, those clouds come over from Lake Michigan. You have that lake effect all summer. David Pricey checking in from Sydney at 06:02 in the morning down under on their Saturday morning. Blake Middleton, first one on from up in Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes. Welcome to you, Ed Worley down in SoCal, and Joe Holtzman in Estes Park. They've survived the fires, Julia.
That's good.
Greg Norman says hi from the Great Lakes as well. Welcome to our show on Friday the 16th of August, at least here in San Francisco. It's your Saturday morning down under. It's late at night, Friday night in Europe. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining us. We've got a great show. We really have a great show. And Alex Hayworth in the UK says he's undercover on Covergate. Covergate is how it has been dubbed by Richard Gladwell. A good article. We're going to excerpt from his article. Jody Shields is present and maybe accounted for. Jon Emmett sailing. Greetings from Weymouth. John's on. We have his usual report. And again, welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining us as we get this show number 732 on the road, on the race course, we're through the starting line and more. Up the first leg, I guess. We have a Fozzy Focus today, Julia.
Yay.
Just catching up. We've had a number of things that we haven't really had time to cover, given the Gulf Cup and then the Olympics and now the America's Cup, as Ted Ryman checks in from Cape Town. So, cool people, friends of Sailing Illustrated, and we open with our super Fozzy Clark Chapin, who on the 24th to the 27th of July, while I was down at Balboa Yacht Club doing Gulf Cup, he was at the Interlake Nationals in Columbus, Ohio, Hoover Reservoir. Clark here in number 1317, the boat I sailed when I was back in Michigan, raced a bit at our home club. Clark finished, I think, 12th overall, and he won the Masters division at the Interlake Nationals, 38 entries, and bravo Zulu to Clark and his crew. And he is joining Jon Emmett in the winner's circle, at least in the Masters division of that super competitive Interlake class.
I bet it is. Yeah.
Ken Saban, if he's on, will know, Julia. It is a super competitive class in the Great Lakes area in the upper Midwest. As Andrew Watson checks in from Glasgow, from Scotland. Welcome to you, Andrew. And then remember we talked, Julia, the other day about this Vaucluse Junior, the VJ?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out it's not a British boat, even though they have a few at John's club, or the club where we featured the other day, not at in Weymouth, but in, what's the name of the other club? I'll think of it in a moment, or John will put it up in the comments. But they have these VJs there.
Yeah.
But it's an Australian boat, come to find out.
Oh, it is.
So this came in from Alistair. G'day, Tom. In today's show, meaning Tuesday, the VJ came up in conversation in a class that introduced many to sailing. Its full name is the Vaucluse Junior, and it is really famous. It's a famous little boat. And I went to their website, and I'll show you some images from it in a moment. But he went to go to the website, he suggests, Alistair, Mr. President of Australian Sailing, to learn more about it and see some great photos, which I did. I happen to have this photo of the one and only John Bertrand and his brother Lex sailing their VJ back to the beach at Chelsea Yacht Club in Melbourne. I am guessing it is from 1960 or a year or two later.
Wow.
So JB, who then 23 years later won the America's Cup for Australia, defeating New York Yacht Club in that famous match in Newport, Rhode Island, 1983, ending New York Yacht Club's 132-year winning streak, the longest winning streak in any sport, right? Mm-hmm. Some people call it the hegemony. That's a good Stanford word.
Oh, it is.
Not hegemony, hegemony.
Hegemony.
Isn't that the proper pronunciation?
Yes.
Bannero is on. Alan Long is on. Steve Gruber saying the VJ has quite some spinnaker. Yeah, it's pretty small. It reminds me of the X-Class. Yeah, as cornflakes are going on. Vaucluse is a suburb of Sydney, Alistair's telling us. CMYC, thank you. Crawley Mariners Yacht Club. That's right, John, thank you. And that's where we saw pictures of this VJ. Now look at these pictures from their website. The class is now some 90 years old, having been launched in April of 1931. This was the first experimental boat from which the design of today's VJ, as the class is affectionately known, was evolved and built by these gentlemen in Sydney at, guess what, the Vaucluse Yacht Club in Australia, in Sydney, just out on near the Heads, actually, North Head, 90 some odd years ago, 93 years ago.
I love it.
There is the Vaucluse Yacht Club. You'll be familiar with that part of the world, Julia, as you, like Andy Rose, it's your favorite country in the world outside of the U.S., maybe even your favorite country. I don't know, is it?
No, well, there's lots of wonderful things about it, but I think I'm still happier.
I think you're biased. I think you have a boyfriend down there still.
Well, you never know.
So it's out there on the near North Head, and in a town called Watson's Bay, or an area there called Watson's Bay, apparently a cool yacht club. And they developed this boat back in the 30s, as we mentioned, and the VJ that you can see on the sail is their logo. Now it's fully battened mainsail. It's got hiking boards. Apparently it's always had hiking boards. And it's a junior trainer, or what they call an intermediate dinghy. It's not very big, as you can see here from the 4 kids sitting in it, and then the adult who's helping show the boat to them, I guess. And here is a shot from a GoPro. There was some video, but I didn't run the video, of some keen VJ sailors, but you can see them out there on the hiking boards. I guess you call those hiking boards, right? Sliding hiking seats, like in an international canoe, an IC. And what else? Speaking of Fozy, do you know whose boat that is, Julia?
No.
That belongs to Graham Sweeney.
Aha.
That's called a church house lugger.
Wow.
And I don't know if he built the boat, restored the boat, but it looks to be in pristine condition there.
It does.
Near his home in Scotland, I believe. That's where he took that picture. And this picture now I'm about to show you is from his Facebook page. He's now using this as his Facebook profile picture. And those, of course, are a couple people from the opening ceremony of the Olympics that Graham got a big kick out of. I don't think that really looks much like Graham, although the beard.
The beard does, yeah.
You think the beard it gives it away?
Yeah.
And as I said in the show notes at the top of the show, the breakdancing memes, they just keep on giving, they keep on coming. And this lady has gotten a lot of abuse, but I still think the breakdancing was a pretty cool event. I know that some of you found that hard to believe, but that's Rachel Gunn from Australia, who has spawned lots of these memes that were sent to me by various Fozy. This one is Ray Gunn takes on the Karate Kid. I don't know if you remember that movie, Julia, from the 80s. The Karate Kid. That came from Jeff Ogle here in the USA. And then I actually found this one on Sweeney's Facebook page. He doesn't know I've grabbed it. He didn't send it to me, but that same pose of hers seems to have struck a chord. There's maybe that movie, the previous one, maybe Karate Kid was more recent than the 80s, but I think this one is from the 80s.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo, wasn't that the name of that television show and maybe a movie, animated
That was
movie?
older.
That's an oldie. Look at the judges. And then, of course, it started to get a little more sporty, as this also came from Graham. I don't know where he found this, but thanks to all the, not you, Australian athletes that made Australia proud.
Mm-hmm.
She got a lot of ink for Australia, and maybe it's not the kind of ink they wanted, but
Well, and for breakdancing.
well, and maybe not the kind of ink that breakdancing wanted either, Julia.
No.
I liked it. Graham, thanks for letting me steal that off your Facebook page. And here's another one. The kids, speaking of getting into sailing now, that's obviously Tom Slingsby's Australian Sail GP team, and they put her up there on the boom. I guess that's the boom. And that also I found on Graham Sweeney's Facebook page. Now, this one is very clever, and I don't know who did this. It came from Jonathan Shore in Newport, Rhode Island. Those of you who'd ever tried to get across the deck on a J-24, one of the, I don't know if that's a J-24 or something,
Right.
a little bit bigger.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll play that again. That's how I crossed the cabin top during attack, which is a real pain in the patoot, if you speak French. That came from Jonathan Shore in Newport, Rhode Island. And then finally, will Ray Gun replace the boxing kangaroo?
Yes.
And if anyone, by the way, if anyone has a picture of an Oz 2 kite with the boxing kangaroo on, we know it exists. Ed Worley and I and others couldn't find it. Baton Rouge was looking for it. He sent this in, Baton Kennon in Charleston. But if any of you has such a photo, an image of Oz 2 KA6 from 83 or even the 86, 87 campaign, we'd sure appreciate having it.
A picture?
Yeah, of the boxing kangaroo on the kite. And
Right.
then, Julia,
Yes.
the official airline, Qantas, I'm sure loves this.
Oh.
This is Team Australia headed home on their official carrier.
Oh.
Replacing what's on the back of the Qantas, on the tail on the Qantas plane? I should have looked that up. I can't remember now. And that also came from Graham Sweeney's Facebook page. Sweeney's, Ted Ryman is saying. What else here? Alistair, there's also a Vaucluse Senior. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
He looks good in the tiara. Similar to a Dragscum lugger. Great boat. Clayton Embley knows the boat.
Wow.
Okay. Rick Bannerow, you should see me in heels, Sweeney. Everyone should leave her alone. Ray Gun is everywhere. She is everywhere. All PR is good. Yeah, no. All PR is good PR. All ink is ink. That's correct. Amy, her name was. Amy was awesome. How much coverage has she had? Millions and millions, apparently, and millions of hits. Hi, Don Lunabos up in Sonoma. The boom. What was it, Steve Gruber? I couldn't remember. Not the boom. I know. It was the cross beam. Or the center beam. Well, I think all the synchronized swimming looks pretty silly, so a break-dancing kangaroo was not so much of a surprise. Here we go. We're at it again. Silhouette of a roo. That's right. Kangaroo on a tail. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The dancing kangaroo, only it's the dancing break dancer Ray Gun. She'll rue the day she took up break dancing.
Oh. No, she won't.
Pretty good, Graham Sweeney. Julia,
What
are we celebrating today? There's your clue. What are we celebrating today?
Calypso.
No, it's kind of in the ballpark, though. Apropos this shirt, what are we celebrating today? Rum. Yeah, it is International Rum Day, too. Steve Gruber knows that. I didn't use that, but yeah, rum. Everybody's looked it up. Why aren't we celebrating International Rum Day? Well, we are celebrating Hawaiian Shirt Day.
Oh, good.
There is such a day, a weird national holiday here in the States, or at least for sure in Hawaii. Graham Sweeney's got it, Hawaiian Shirt Day, catching your manhood in your zipper day. Looks like he has got himself zipped up there a bit, doesn't it, Julia?
No, it doesn't.
How do you know? How would you know? There was going to be another clue in case anybody couldn't see it on that graphic.
Yeah.
Hawaiian Shirt Day there's actually a reason for it. It's celebrated on the third Friday in August every year. It falls on August 6th. This year it falls on August 16th. The celebration marks the official day that Hawaii joined the U.S. It's the statehood day of Hawaii.
Oh,
I didn't know that. Making it the 50th state in the USA, the state commemorates a longstanding effort to gain statehood for the nation of Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
and is also celebrated as National Statehood Day on the island. And of course, it was annexed back in the 1800s. We don't go into the story about Captain James Cook getting murdered there in Hawaii, but apparently he was not very kind to some of the indigenous people. But that's the story of National Hawaiian Shirt Day, which is the statehood day of a cool sailing state. I mean, it's
yes, absolutely.
Along with California, Michigan, Florida, all the states in the Northeast, of course, that are on the ocean, and of course, a lot of the landlocked states, the Great Lakes, notwithstanding, but also the little puddles all over Minnesota, where Blake Middleton is, and Illinois, and Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, as we talk regularly on this show, and indeed Texas has a lot of lake.
Yeah.
Ryman says that, Julia, it's also National Pet Rock Day.
Yes.
Give me a break. I had forgotten
About pet rocks.
Pet rocks. That was a 1970s thing. We'd hope to forget, like most of the 70s. Their anthem is tiny bubbles
In the
wine. Thanks, David James, for that. What else are we celebrating today, especially you Brits? There's a clue, Julia. What are we celebrating if you're a Brit? And it's, one of the coolest sports leagues in the world. It gets underway. In fact, it's underway as we speak in the UK. Any idea? It's the start of the Premier League.
Oh, yeah.
The big soccer league, the football league in the UK. It's a big deal, and here's the video.
Mate, it's madness in here today.
Of course, bro. It's the kickoff. It's the new Premier League season. You gotta be ready. Get loud. This is new faces, latest drip, and fresh trims. You got Sonny doing bits. You got FPL picks.
In Enzo's new system, he's gonna bag.
See, it's man like Cole, Tifos, and mad goals.
Bit much, innit?
Nah, it's the Premier League. The greatest league in the world is back. The Premier League kickoff.
I like the promo.
Yeah.
I saw it this morning. I said, I got to play that. It's, we talk about the NBA on here. We talk about the NFL. We talk about college football. But this is a big, big deal.
It is. I have a couple friends for whom it is the big deal.
Well, it is for a lot of people. And Gordon Smith is saying, well, spread the message. Ryman, who is a Brit living down in Cape Town, he says, rugby is far better. I'm not a fan. And an American fog machine, a.k.a. Lance Burke, with whom I had a glass of fake beer last night. I won't tell you what he was drinking, Julia, but it wasn't fake beer. Fog machine saying it's 0-0 in the 60th minute. Of what match, Lance? You can't just tell us 0-0. What team? What game? What team? Is there only one game tonight? There must be more games than that. Football takes up far too much sailing time, Sweeney says.
Yeah.
Okay, the Premier League is underway tonight in the UK, and, there is a sailing connection as well, because Man U, which was, I don't know why, but it was my favorite team growing up. My daughter Meg, our daughter played soccer, and she followed Man U and Chelsea for some reason when we were living in Spain, Germany and Spain. And Man U, as you probably know, Julia.
Maybe not.
Is owned by, you know who that is?
I should.
That is Sir Jim Ratcliffe,
Oh, that's
the
right.
co-owner.
That's right.
And I think he's the managing partner of Man U. He has sporting control. Ineos wholly owns FC Lausanne Sport in the Swiss Super League, and they also own a minority interest around about 17%, in the Nizza French Liga team.
Mm-hmm.
Roocliffe, Stingrays calling. Only one game today, the rest of the schedule over the weekend. Okay. Man U versus Fulham. Thank you, guys. Thank you for filling us in. So that's what's going on. By the way, Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's company, of which he's chairman and major owner. See, I don't know if he's still the CEO, but in addition to football, the soccer ownerships that they have, they're also heavily invested in F1, principal partner and co-owner to 8 times constructors, world champions, Mercedes AMG Formula One, as you all know, led by Toto Wolff, with drivers Lewis Hamilton. Did Lewis leave? Is he still with that team? And George Russell? And then, of course, in sailing, Ineos Britannia is the challenger of record at the 37th America's Cup, led by Sir Ben Ainslie, 4 times Olympic champion and the most decorated rugby sailor, Olympic sailor of all time. I'm getting ahead to rugby because the next slide is indeed about Ted Ryman's favorite sport, rugby, and I did not know this. They also do cycling. They do a thing called challenges, but they also do in a big way rugby in New Zealand. Ineos is proud to be the performance partner to New Zealand's teams in black.
The All Blacks? Wow.
The All Blacks, the Black Ferns, the All Black Sevens, the Black Ferns Sevens, the Maori All Blacks, the All Blacks 15, and the New Zealand U20 squad. I had no idea. And you wonder what's going on in these business relationships that are made in the America's Cup and furthered in the America's Cup. I know Larry Ellison, for one, did deals connected with the America's Cup with his Japanese business partners, and he would cajole them into joining the America's Cup.
Yes.
And who knows how this has all happened, but these guys are operating at a different level, certainly, than I am. Maybe, Julia, you're at their level, but... Huh?
Clark Shippen says Sir Lewis is still with Mercedes.
Gordon Smith says that the rugby's a hooligan's game played by gentlemen, and football is a gentleman's game played by hooligans. Ted Lasso. It's not Ted Lasso. Anything, Lewis going to Ferrari? Yeah, he is going to Ferrari next season. I thought he was on his way. Thank you, Lance Burke, a.k.a. Fog Machine, for that. So that's some of the things we're celebrating today, Julia, but we're, of course, also celebrating, as always, our FOSI.
Absolutely.
Our patrons via Patreon, those of you who give us a few bucks a month, thanks very much indeed for your support. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And Kent Pulliam has put up a link. Thanks, Kent. It looks like to the Aussie boxing kangaroo spinnaker. Fantastic. I'll see if I can get that. We'll certainly get that after the show and then use that in future. So if you're watching Baton Rouge, Baton Kennon, there is your answer. It's at that link. Thanks to Kent Pulliam. Sir Thomas Lipton. Okay, let's get to our regular report from Jon Emmett here at the top of the show, back in the B block, really, as we have the coaching corner with Jon Emmett, our super coach, our super FOSI, and we're kind of through the Olympics. We're segueing into the America's Cup, and a bit of a segue from Jon as well.
Hey Tom, Julia and all the FOSI. Well, we've had an awful lot of Olympic content, so time for something completely different. For me, one of the really nice things is to learn a new skill set. I've been here sailing the D0 for a couple of months and I'm just starting to do a few fine tweaks. Now, of course, this is about the D0, but it could apply to any new boat that you're going sailing. So one of the really nice things is there's a variable mast foot, so you can be raked aft or raked forward. So before you do any of the other sail controls, you need to decide how you're going to do this. Personally, I've been sailing raked aft. And one of the really simple things to do is actually to have the thinnest main sheet, or any type of sheet that your hands can get away with, and also probably the shortest as well, to minimise the amount of rope in the boat. Little things, marginal gains, all important. So one of the really important things is just keeping everything tidy. So here we have the handle, or the lever, on the port hand side, so it can't interfere with the outhaul. Very important, because you don't want that catching on the lever, and you don't actually need to tighten these things too much or you will crush the carbon. And then I have the Cunningham or downhaul is always going to be going on the port hand side so that it doesn't get trapped when you're doing those roundings. And you know, there's 50-50 way of doing it, but I think trial and error, this is definitely the way I would suggest for all boats. There's lots of things we can do, whatever class of boat we're looking at, but one of the things is putting low stretch ropes on here. So we have it here as the primary line here of the control, making things as simple as possible. We've adjusted the traveller here because obviously in a perfect world you have deck plating, so the boom is as close to down on the deck as you'd see in America's Cup boat. So to take as much out of this as possible, you see I put on the new thinner main sheet, and that's not only to make it easier for the sail to go in and out. You can also have a JC strap, but just really minimising the weight in the boat so it doesn't drop in the water. And this rope here, I always go with bare hands, and you can really feel that sheet in light wind, and that's it. I think with all the systems it's good just to test out things. Some things will be personal preference, but if you're not sure where to go, one of the top tips, look at the people who are sailing fast in any class, and I'm sure they'll be happy to help you.
Julia, you're ready to go sailing your D0 now. You know who designed the D0?
Mm-hmm.
That's a devotee,
Yep.
Luca Devotee, and he's going to be on our show a week from today, if memory
good.
serves.
I haven't seen him for a while.
We're going to have him on, and we're going to talk some more about the D0. It seems to be a bit of a coming thing. John's
Yes.
sailing it, so that's good. Replaying.
And he came on to tell us that originally, two years ago.
He did indeed. He launched the boat right here on this show.
Right.
To be honest, TFE, I don't remember a boxing kangaroo spinnaker, and I was in Newport every weekend that summer. Steve, it may have been in Oz, 86, 87, but there has been that kite.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh my gosh, they're joke telling on here now. Julie Aaron says, Julie checks in. Julie, get these people under control. You may have give them a digital. Yeah, it was a battle flag for sure, but there was, I'm pretty sure there was a boxing kangaroo spinnaker as well. Well, we think we've got a photo from Kent. Thanks. So we'll clear that up and see when that in fact existed. Or did exist. Maybe it still does. Thank you very much, Jon Emmett. Interesting little change of pace there. Not talking about what you might do physically, but what you might do to get your boat tuned up, particularly a D0, but maybe even any number of other boats. Low stretch lines, Julia, being key. You don't want stretching your lines. You gonna make a joke?
No.
You don't want stretching your line.
I have enough lines.
I got camera 4 rigged back up so I can go back here to pointing at John hiking hard. Great technique with his hands close together so he can pull the sheet up to his aft hand and then get another grip on the rope. Another great laser technique that applies to just about any boat, better than putting it in your mouth. You pull it, hold the hiking stick like that, pull the rope back to your aft hand. In this case, if you're on starboard tack. Okay, enough of all this.
Pull out a tooth.
Well, you don't put it in your mouth. That's why you put it in your aft hand, and then gives you a chance to go get another purchase, grab the sheet ahead of it, of where your current hand is, and pull it in.
Yeah. Now, is this really a controversy?
It is. It may be a tempest in a teapot, but we'll see here. Change of pace is always a nice way to wrap up a week. Good point, Blake Middleton up in the land of 10,000 lakes. What else? Alistair Murray, I don't think the boxing kangaroo appeared on a kite, but certainly a humongous battle flag. Well, we'll see. I haven't looked at that image. You all are looking at that image. Maybe I can go try to find that image.
Maybe it was a whopper.
Well, a whopper.
Whopper.
A whopper. From the movie?
Wind.
Okay, we're going to get that movie. I licensed that movie leading up to the 92 Cup, I think. Mm-hmm. I licensed that movie and was we had the red carpet, the big premiere
right.
at a theater in La Jolla.
Good.
Just, that little, that fancy suburb north of town. I think it's actually a town north of San Diego. We had a great evening, a lot of fun. The launch of Wind. And of course, there were a lot of 12-meter sailors involved in that, including our Fozy John Sangmeister.
Yes.
Who was played a pivotal role.
Yes. I loved the movie. I know lots of people didn't, but I did.
It's so campy.
At the time, it was wonderful.
Andrew McIrvin says he recognizes my shirt. And of course, I didn't say it, but I'm wearing it because of Hawaiian Shirt Day. And Andrew's got one of these from where's the year? You recognize these flags on the sleeve? 1, 9, 2.
I don't know.
Andrew was there.
Uh-huh.
3.
It's time it come back.
Yeah, they used Marcos Weinstein, US 42. He is coming back. Andrew is coming to this year's Stag Cruise. He is giving, in fact, he's giving, we had a Stag Cruise committee meeting last night, and he is giving, for the first time ever, we're having a keynote address.
Mm-hmm.
He is opening really the activities. They have an opening ceremony Thursday night around the pool, as usual. We throw the Commodore in the water.
Yeah.
As part of the tradition. But then he is, for the first time ever, Andrew is opening the Stag Cruise Friday morning.
Yeah.
Friday morning at, I can't remember, 10:30, 11, in a keynote address at the Lighthouse that is being hosted by another FOSI, Staff Commodore Kimball Livingston.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a state of the sport. Andrew's going to say, here's what's going on in big boat racing, yacht racing. You know, we've just had the Olympics. Here's what's good. Here's what's maybe not so good. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin, but people, I said at my meeting last night, I say I'm chairman of that committee, and people are really looking forward to having Andrew back.
Absolutely.
And as you know, he's a bit of a raconteur as well as one of the brightest people in our sport. Wind was much better romance than the Titanic. I watched them film some of it too in one of the mansions in Newport. That was good fun. Yeah, sorry, did I say 19? Of course, 2023. It's a 2023. Thank you, Steve Groover. Steve is always right on top of
Somebody's got to be.
You know, Julius, if you ever take a couple weeks off again, we may put Groover on remotely and have him be the co-host because he's so good at doing what you often do, which is correct me, and I need all the help I can get.
Well, I'll take 2 weeks off.
Okay, so what's this next segment? You won't take, you love this show. You get all dolled up, you get your hair, your lady comes in the morning, and I can hear it upstairs as she's washing your hair. And how many dresses did you try on today?
None.
Did she select the dress or did you?
We talked about the color.
You tell her, and she goes and selects it. And you've got, I'm not exaggerating, you've got like 500 dresses up there, right?
At least.
I'm not kidding. You should see her closets up there, everybody. And matching scarves, and she always comes looking like a proverbial $1,000,000, Julia.
Oh, thank you. But even if it's not true.
I wonder if Gruber can clean up as well as you do if we get him on.
Well, it'd be fun to watch.
Sweeney says there's no replacement for Julia.
Oh.
Don't you have a Route 66 Stag Cruise commemorative vodka bottle? 2023. Yes, I do. Thank you, Marcos. And of course, your vodka bottle here on the desktop is one you gave me, I think, before that. Sail fast, sail safe, have fun. These are courtesy of our FOSI, Marcos Weinstein. Groover says if he comes on and remotely, he won't be wearing a scarf.
Oh.
He's no fun. I wonder, and Andrew McIrvin, I don't know if you've seen the poster. I get the poster here for this year's Stag Cruise. And see who of our FOSI, of our viewers, first can identify from which cover, and not you, Lance, because I know you know, Lance Burke and any other St. Francis people, but what cover was this a takeoff on, of album cover?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that okay?
The year will help.
Well, it's the 67th Stag Cruise, so
Right.
Yes, it's an album from 1967. Peppers, Alistair Murray, he wins. Sergeant Pepper, the Beatle, yup. And people like this. People, I don't know if it shows well over here, and maybe better over here on camera 4. But it is, that's our poster for this year's Stag Cruise. It's going to be a lot of fun. Any of you who are members or have no members that want to come, we still got a little bit of space. You ought to sign up. Price is reasonable. We're going to cap the cap the number of people because we don't want to, hundreds and hundreds of people up there. But
Yeah.
Justin Bieber's Womb album, Jody Shields. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Speaking of Lonely Hearts Club, American Magic is sort of on the outside looking in because they're being protested by these teams, and that's our lead story today. American Magic, and here's the headline from another of our foes, Richard Gladwell, who's written a terrific article about all of this, and it aired on his website, of which he's the New Zealand editor for sale-world.com. It aired last night. America's Cup Covergate, teams take aim at the lonely hearts of American Magic over their cockpit fairings. Marcos, I'll get you a poster. And it is an interesting story, and it's not unusual in the America's Cup that something at the last minute, the teams think maybe they are sensing, Julia, that one of the other teams may have a leg up. And they say, well, we'll gang up on them and do a rules inquiry about something we think they have that may not be legal. Yeah. Even if it turns out to be legal, it ends up getting their design team and their rules advisors and some of their management all in a conference room, going over sidetracked, filing briefs and having to respond to this, and then you get nervous. Some people think this might be an American Magic ploy, that they themselves have submitted this just to be doubly sure that if someone were to protest them during the series, that they've got a clean bill of health from the rules committee.
Why would it be that? What could they be hiding? There's almost nothing below there.
And that's the other point which Richard makes in the article, and let's go into it. He said, they've all seen these things now for months, since June, and why are they waiting till now if it is a protest from other teams? And it is, apparently. So one hears. Let me go back. The latest rule inquiry requesting an interpretation of the rules governing surface finishes, and it really is hatch covers, is clearly aimed at the U.S. challenger American Magic. The question uses the AC 75 class rules governing the characteristics of surface finishes as a rules missile aimed at the U.S. team and questions the legality of the honeycomb fairing covers used on the 4 recumbent cyclor cockpits. That's a great expression.
Yes.
Recumbent. I hope we never hear that expression in the America's Cup again, Julie, after this one. Recumbent cyclor cockpits on the U.S. challengers. Steve Gruber is saying it's about egress for the cyclers. Say it's not about safety. Tom Morris posited that. These things are breakaway. I checked with the team, and you can break through. You can't walk on these. You know how they put on airplane wings, Julia? No step.
Yeah.
You can't walk on the flipper on the what do you call those flapperons and you can't walk on these things either. You go right through them. And we'll show you where the cycler's positioned, because they don't cover the whole cockpit up. That's illegal. You got to have cycler cockpits, but they are helping to smooth the airflow, especially vertically, or so one hears. And if you're a cycler and your boat capsized, you need to get out of it, you crash these things out. It's absolutely not a safety issue, despite some people asserting that. Mm-hmm. So I'm reasonably well informed. So here is what it looks like. It's honeycomb. It's carbon, obviously. It's very lightweight. And looking back at the AC, this is Richard still writing, at the AC-37 Joint Recon Team images, the covers were first spotted on May 27th. So all of June, all of July, almost all of August, half of August before they file a protest, just a few days before the start of racing. However, on looking for subsequent sailing shots to see if the fairings covers were in place while the team was training, there is nothing definitive. I've seen all sorts of pictures of them training with these covers until the last day of the recon program on June 22nd. There are lots of pictures. And there used to be a rule, and I don't know if there is, and I haven't had time to go back and research, but there used to be a rule that if you saw something you thought was illegal, you had to lodge a protest at the first reasonable opportunity. And that was to stop this kind of wait and try to get a gotcha at the end just before racing starts or after racing has already started. If you're aware of this stuff, It's like protest now. It's like, you're in a wedding, what's the word?
Or forever.
Or forever hold your peace.
Yeah.
So speak up now or forever hold your. They look like a window sunshade, Jody is saying. They look as substantial as Boeing emergency exit doors should be fine for the cyclists to get out of. Yes, and as a couple of you have said, look at the telltales. They're trying to look at the airflow. Yes, of course. Up through, because, there's just air coming probably up as well as going down. Bill Wingrove says, you don't bring out the good stuff until you need it. Well, if you don't, you risk then getting a protest late in the game if you think it's a marginal issue.
It could be disruptive of the airflow too.
It could be, but I think it's to help stop airflow from going into the cockpits and coming down and down in, or so I'm told. I've had conversations with various people in Barcelona on both the American Magic team and on other teams.
Yeah.
So that's what, and in fact, if you look at this picture, which is from June, I believe, you can see, it's hard to see, but there are the covers. Now you can see I've got camera 4 on here going in. You can see the head just barely up, but there is a cover. There is a cover.
Oh.
And it's hard to see, but those are these shaped carbon honeycomb covers.
With the head sticking out?
Barely. Because remember, they're facing aft.
Yeah.
The recumbent cyclors.
Oh, yeah.
The RCs, not to be confused with Russell Coots's.
Yeah.
That's their head. They're facing aft. That whole system allows them to get very much lower in the boat and have lower freeboard in these boats. They're lower to the water by quite a bit than any other boats. And they are aft of the driver, the helmsman.
Yeah.
Did I say driver?
Yes.
The skipper. Well, not necessarily the skipper, but the helmsman and the wing trimmer / tactician / flight controller. And there's the starboard side pair that are the racing sailors, and there's the port side pair, and they are not going to cross from side to side this time on any of the boats, unlike last time.
It makes sense.
You were going to say.
Oh, I can only see one head on the bow, and I'm hoping there were 2.
Yeah, there are 2.
Yeah.
There are 2. Looks like fluorescent light grids. Yes, good point, James. And you know how flimsy those are. It seems like a MacGuffin, Chris actually saying. As soon as they saw how fast American Magic sailed, the protests happened. Yeah, well, that could be part of it. That could be part of it. Or it could be fear that they're going to sail fast or are sailing fast.
Yeah.
And Graham Sweeney's thinking, however, it seems to me that if they're preparing for heavy weather, higher freeboard is a better option. Well, it's going to be pretty light and lumpy. I think having the weight down low is going to be good. Rick Bannerow is asserting that they're FRDs, flatulence removal devices for the cyclors. That's going to help direct the flatulence up.
Oh, yes.
Oh, the Fozzie, it's a fright. It's a good thing. I wonder where the air sickness bags are attached to the cycles. Andrew Watson stops the recumbent cyclists from being waterborne. Also moves the center of gravity forward, onto the main and over the foils. Yes, by having their torsos facing aft, it gets their torsos forward relative to the center of the boat.
Yeah.
The cover lower, Alex Hayworth is asserting the cover lowers the visibility, which is bad if the windward foil of the opponent is running up your deck from the stern lethal. And Martin Abenius has already got his popcorn out. He's waiting for this. David James quoting Racing Rule of Sailing 66.1, which doesn't apply. The protesting boat shall inform the other boat at the first reason. That's inform of the protest being filed, David. You inform the protest of the first reasonable opportunity that you have filed a protest. It's not that you have to. That 66.1 doesn't say that you have to protest at the first reasonable opportunity. Although there used to be, and I don't know if there still is, there used to be a class rule that said just that. Joe Holtzman thinks it's strictly a psych job. Could be. But let's go on here a little more from, again, Richard Gladwell writing on sail-world.com. We've seen many such ploys in the past. I've been in all these movies, I think. I wasn't really in the fiberglass 12-meter, the Fandango and Fremantle. That was a Dennis Conner effort more than American
Plastic
Mark II.
boats.
The plastic fantastics. Fiberglass 12 meters in Fremantle. Remember when Dennis said at a press conference famously,
Yeah.
and it was to rattle the Kiwis, of course, why else would you build a fiberglass boat unless it was to cheat?
Yeah.
He said. That was something else. So Richard's remembering these things. The use of the Kiwi bowsprit in the 92 LVC, which I was an architect of, along with your good friend, Julia Paul Kayard.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that in a sec. The progressive lowering of the Kiwis' hula in the 2003 America's Cup. Do you remember all that? And we kept protesting. Various teams kept challenging that. And that was the gap of the hula, which was that extra device in the back. And to be sure it met the letter of the rule, they had to keep expanding the gap. This was a little piece of hull under the back and up back by the rudder.
Oh, yeah.
And it got to be so wide that it didn't do much, probably. That was the boat that also had all sorts of breakage problems, but it also probably could catch seaweed. And we kept protesting. I was part of a team in 03 that was protesting that effectively. And Ken McAlpine, who was then I think he was the chief measurer. The multi-measurement certificates of liberty in 1983 America's Cups, well, that really didn't get found out till pretty much after the fact. The legality of foiling in the 2013 America's Cup, yeah, that got challenged here in San Francisco and many more. Speaking of 92, here is that famous drawing. And we were right. Kayard came to me. He was steering the Italian team. And the Italian team came and said, we think this is illegal, and we think you, I was running the defense for all, and Paul was with the challenger, and he said, I think you should help us protest this because this is not proper, and this was the Kiwi boat was really quite quick in certain conditions. And that was how they were I won't go into the great details, but how they were leading. They had a line coming straight from the kite to the bowsprit, which under the then class and racing rules was, strictly speaking, not permitted. And they were trying to get around it with how they were rigging their foreguy and so on in the pole. And it was deemed illegal by the jury, and that pretty well knocked the Kiwis out of contention because they had to re-rig the thing, and their crew work then was all crouton.
Why wouldn't you be able to do that?
Well, because it was prohibited by the rules.
I know, but I mean, what did it add or detract?
Well, it didn't. That's the point. It was, as Gordon Smith says, it was kind of pedantry. It was pedantic.
Yeah.
It didn't, but we did manage to protest, and the jury found unanimously, in fact, if I remember well, that they could not rig their kite like that. And I when I write my book, I'll tell you the story. When Kayard came to me and said, hey, we think this is illegal. You got to help us. And I went to the defenders. And this is the way the game's played, still is played today. And I went to the defenders as the COO of the organizing committee and the defense committee and said, who would you rather race, Kayard or the Kiwis? Bruce Farr didn't talk to me for years after that. And then we ended up on a team that became besties. He was the designer of the little red boat. Oh. Yeah. Red Pointer, and all the defenders said we'd rather race Il Moro, the Italian team. So do what you can do to help get it ruled illegal, and we did. If judging your speed by looks, remember the Corvette's the only thing that should impress are the results. Good point, Graham Sweeney. So that's the 92 thing to which Richard Gladwell is referring, the LVC finals, Louis Vuitton Cup, and of course, Il Moro did go on to beat them in the finals, and then came and lost to us 4-1. I think 4-1. I think they won one race.
Yeah, it was awful though.
And that was against Bill Koch. And who was driving for Bill Koch? Bill Koch and Buddy Melgus. Exactly right. Well done, Julia. So that's the diagram used as evidence by Il Moro de Venezia to show the illegality of NZL20's jibing technique. It was another rules gotcha, disrupting the team while racing in the final of the LVC 1992. Okay, now I'm going to play you a video that Tom Morris, the UK sailmaker and good sailor that he is, and we've excerpted a couple of his videos before. He's a YouTuber now, some repute, And most of his stuff is pretty good. This one, again, I think is quite good until he starts going into all this safety stuff. He actually, Tom, declares that this is legal. His read of the rules is that the honeycomb cover is legal, but he's raising the safety question. So I'm going to play the whole thing at 7 minutes and change long, and then we'll come out of that and we'll see what you all think.
This recent innovation from American Magic is clever, it's probably fast, and despite a recent inquiry, I think it's within the rules. It's got all the hallmarks of something that should really excite the Mozzie Sales fanbase. Magic as a team has run an awesome campaign, and the boat they've launched, low and sleek, is exactly what I would have raced with. Add on to this the story arc of rising from the ashes after the disastrous capsize of Patriot, and despite being American, they're probably working their way to being most people's second team in the competition. But there's something about it which doesn't quite sit right. And if you're a sailor, it shouldn't. So this is Mary Rose. It sank with almost all of its 600 crew. And at first that doesn't seem really odd. It was a medieval ship belonging to a Tudor king, and presumably people couldn't really swim those days. But I was surprised when I went to the museum to find out that's not really the full story. The ship actually sank exactly where the America's Cup World Series was hosted in front of Portsmouth, just over a kilometre from the beach. And it sank in 12 metres of water. To put that in perspective, the ship itself is 12 metres high from keel to topsides, and the mast stayed poking above the water for decades afterwards. So how come so close to shore and with a ship still to cling to with rigging above the water, did so many people die? Well, the answer is this netting. It was put on board to make them more efficient in battle and protect the gunners and keep them firing. But when the ship capsized, it trapped the crew beneath. Within sight of the surface, lapping around the rigging, they would have drowned, trapped by the nets put over them. And so, when I look at this innovation from Magic, I kind of wince. I can see where Magic are going. Like I said, it's clever, it's probably fast because it shields the crew from the wind, makes those cockpit apertures seem smaller, especially in the proximity to the mainsail for those inboard crew positions. And I think they're within the rules to do it. So the apertures are defined by an area, a size, and they actually have to be slightly bigger for recumbent cyclors, which Magic have, which is a key part of their design to lower the freeboard and lower the volume. But there's an exemption in that rule, and it's one of the last rules agreed. And it wasn't just agreed between the defender and the challenger, but all teams participated in the drafting of this rule. And the exception was put in was to add an extra 0.3 meters of crew coverage from kind of miscellaneous components. Magic have taken this and made their 0.3 meters a kind of mesh honeycomb that can sit over the crew cockpits. Now, I've had my eye on this rule for quite a long time because I thought that was quite a big wiggle room to be given to miscellaneous components. And I actually commented on when I was on the Bar Karate podcast when I said this.
Who's going to be done for cheating first? What will be the first controversy?
Covered area is going to be a big one because obviously all the teams are pushing just to completely cover everyone. They'd be below deck if the aero team had their way. But there's a bit of a safety angle, obviously. Yeah, someone needs to pull the grinders out when they do pitch pole. I reckon some team will turn up with some pretty unique fairings, which will all but
kind of zip themselves in.
That was back over a year ago, and sure enough, the rule controversy has emerged this week with a rule inquiry. Now, the ins and outs of the inquiry are suggesting that this honeycomb structure from American Magic is altering the boundary flow, and therefore isn't allowed by another rule. Personally, I think this is a bit of a weak argument because, first of all, it's more of a macro thing rather than a kind of a boundary layer pattern. And it's actually kind of creating a whole new boundary flow in a different place than would have been the case if they had an open aperture. So I think Magic are within the rules on this. I just don't like where they're at from a safety point of view. Now, there is another rule, that's a time period that crews have to be able to get themselves out and off the boat in, and Magic may still be able to meet this rule. But critically, the cockpit apertures must be preserved, because not always when you capsize are you functioning and able to get yourself out. If you're knocked unconscious, then you're completely reliant on another person coming and pulling you out. Or if you snagged or caught on something, like these cyclaws may be with clipping pedals, then you're relying on a diver coming in and freeing you. The other element is, if this rule inquiry goes through and it's seen that these type of covers, mesh covers, are legal, then other teams may be forced to put similar covers in place. And they've got kind of smaller apertures as well, so they'll be almost completely covered. And I kind of fear for the safety of the fleet. And I think this is a safety thing, and it's acknowledged by American Magic. So going back again to the Bar Karate podcast, this time Britton Ward was talking about the hull design for Magic, and he talked about the cyclaws, and he said one possible benefit of them was that it was easy to get out in emergency.
And the recumbent cockpits by rule are a little bit bigger, so it's probably easier to get the guys out if there's any issues.
Yeah. Are we making an obvious sacrifice for crew safety? And I'm not sure you can always rely on the crews themselves to put their hands up and question this. They're under a huge amount of pressure. It means it's their life dreams and ambitions to be on these boats racing. Someone high in the team needs to make decisions. On top of this, these cyclaws are new to the sport. They've probably not been trapped under the water before. They've not had that panic feeling of being stuck. Not in a real scenario, only in the safety training. So I'm kind of looking towards Terry Hutchison. Terry was also involved and actually trapped when Patriot capsized.
As I straight away was underwater and pinned underneath the mainsail. As Sicho went by me, he could see that my head was underwater and that I was trapped. Cooper grabbed his knife and cut the left one and got me out.
If he'd been covered by a mesh, would that crew member have been able to get in and cut him out? For me, these covers are within the rules, but I'd really like to find a way of making them illegal. Or I'd like a truce between the teams and agree that apertures for crews to get out the boat and be rescued are something we can leave aside. I'm not monetizing this video, there's no links in the description, there's no sponsors on the walls. This is just something I felt necessary to report to you and have a discussion in the wider sailing community about. I did contact American Magic for comment on this and haven't heard anything back, but I would be interested to hear their view on the safety aspect of this and how it might be mitigated. That's everything for me. Take care and let's enjoy some racing.
Tom Morris.
That was well done.
He's a good communicator. He's doing a nice job with his videos. I will show you a picture in a minute, but let's go to comments before we go address that picture. I think Andrew Watson has put a great comment up here. So this can be split into two issues. Does it add performance? Probably, but marginal. Is it dangerous? Probably not, as A, the honeycomb structure is breakable in an emergency, and B, the crew of the Mary Rose didn't have safety equipment. I think the biggest safety issue is high-speed collision, same as Sail GP near misses. And others of you have agreed. I do not think, and I am told, this is not a safety issue. This is like, Julie, your newspaper sitting there. You know, that's probably stronger than these structures in terms of breaking out. If you'd covered the cockpits with newspaper, okay, they get wet, and that's kind of about the same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is a safety issue at all. And as a couple of you pointed out, including, I guess, Andrew, remember now, these guys have got breathing. It's not, you know, they don't have hours of oxygen, but they got a minute maybe of oxygen on these, what do you call these breathers? They're not rebreathers. They're you know, they got a small supply. Yeah. They've got knives. They have trained. You know, you think about the tragedy back here in San Francisco in 2013. I guess it was 2012 or 2013. You know, we've gone, and the sport and these folks these teams have gone way beyond. I don't think this is a safety issue at all. I think it's a speed issue. Whether it really makes any difference or not is, we'll see. But this photo was the lead photo that Richard used in his article. And if I go back to cam 4, here you can see they don't have the covers on for whatever reason. Maybe they were testing, maybe they've already taken them off. Here you can see the covers are on. And there was an implication, I think, in the caption that was used in this photo that they don't have the covers on. Well, they are on. Here they are. You can plainly see them on the port side. Starboard side covers are off. So I think the Rules Committee, which there is a good Rules Committee, and they have the exclusive authority to rule on these rules enquiries, and you do have the authority as a team to ask a question. And of course, that's what they've done. They ask the question, and then the other teams are allowed to opine. And we know from those who have access to that information, all the other teams have come in, as Richard said, and piled on against American Magic, because obviously they're concerned about the speed of the boat. If they weren't concerned about the speed of the boat, they wouldn't be piling on. And of course, American Magic, in their paper, is saying, oh, it's perfectly legal, it's perfectly safe, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
Graham Sweeney's saying, I hope they're not venting their batteries through the hatches. Do the covers also help to minimize the water coming into the cockpits? I don't know, Ed. I haven't asked that question. Good question. 2 minutes of spare air. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you, Alex Hayward. Is meaningless if you have been knocked out by a blow to the head. Well, that's another issue. And that's why the collisions are the concern that all of us have. That there is a praying here, especially when you got one boat with one side you got the foil up in the air, and the other side it's down in the water, and one's up in the air like these flying geckos that they are.
Yeah.
I still don't think these boats make any sense at all.
No.
They look cool. I guess they do look cool, but okay. So that's a photo from June 7th. The teams have known about this since forever. I got to go find out if there is a rule about filing a protest straight away. And if there were, I'm sure American Magic would be screaming bloody murder, which apparently they are not. So there must not be such a rule.
Yeah.
And I have not had time to go look, and frankly, a little lazy because American Magic has got to defend themselves. Now I have another video. It's a very short one. And this is showing you how they get out. And you can see how gingerly the recumbent cyclors are getting out, so as not to disturb these fragile covers. Have a look. You see I'm going to show you again. You can see the covers.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, he's not getting out. He's going to get in. Watch this. What a pain.
Yeah.
Got his water. I don't know why these boats remind me of the hunt for Red October, Julia.
Yes.
That's the aft shot of that submarine, the Soviet submarine in Red October.
Yeah.
Which I know is the favorite movie a lot of our foesy on here. Okay. After the tragic Simpson accident, Bart Simpson in 2013, caution is warranted. I watched it from my office and it was horrific. Yes, David, I had to say I was on one end of the radios when that was going on, and it was not an experience I ever wish to be involved in again in our beloved sport. Here is the Rules Committee, and it consists of Mark Ellis from the UK. Ellis has recently retired from F1 following a lifelong career in motorsport, culminating in a decade of world championships with Red Bull, and latterly as performance director at Mercedes F1. So I don't think he has a conflict of interest. He's retired from F1. He's acted as a consultant for a diverse array of industries such as the F1, the hypercar constructors, and Olympic track cycling. So no doubt he's a very qualified aerodynamicist and otherwise. Mark Wintermantel from Switzerland holds a master's and PhD degree. I would just have said PhD in quantum electronics and computational physics, and is currently working as a corporate fellow at ANSYS, a market leader for CAE, multiphysics simulation software. I don't even know what that is. He is an expert in structural engineering with a focus on numerical composite material analysis. He'll be able to look at this and say, Julia, in a nutshell, this is solid, this is not, the guys, but so can probably everybody else. Then the third member of the committee is the esteemed Stan Honey, another Fosy's been on the show. Stan was a member of the 36th America's Cup Rules Committee as a professional sailing navigator. He won the Volvo Ocean Race, set the Jules Verne record for the fastest nonstop circumnavigation, yada, yada, yada. He's multiple Rolex Yachtsman of the Year and U.S.
And a nice guy.
And a nice guy. He went to Yale and Stanford. He went Yale undergrad, then he went to Stanford for electrical engineering. He's won Emmy Awards for the technical innovation. And as you all know, he and his partners were responsible for the system, the GPS graphics system.
That's been the greatest gift to all sports.
Well, certainly to our sport. The ladders and the graphics that are imposed now on the water, and were used in the Olympics and used in Sail GP and used in the America's Cup and so on. So those guys have the exclusive authority to rule on these rules inquiries and subsequently any rules protests. The AC 37 Rules Committee, they are in charge of interpreting that class rule. Also the AC 40 class rule, by the way. Lifeline. Yeah, well, it's been called various things, Stingray. Thank you for that. And the first down line and the strikes. Yeah, they did the strike zone. They also, David James, did the flaming puck in the NHL. Stan and his partners did. And the flaming puck was not very popular.
No.
Because hockey tends to be even more traditional than we yachties.
How about following the golf?
I don't know if that's theirs, but it's the same, obviously, same technology, which is cool, too, to be able to see the flight of the golf ball.
Yes.
The first online changed football coverage more than any other innovation. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Did you know that they're doing away, speaking of American Gridiron, American football, they're doing away with the chain gang? Where they come out to put the ball down and see if the team has advanced the ball 10 yards to see if they get a first down. They're going to measure electronically now. They got to.
Yeah. I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Can the other teams object to the nationality of any of the members of the Rules Committee? I believe they cannot. I think the Rules Committee, Clark, was run by all of them a long time ago, and they all signed off on these three guys. Does USA design include its traditional opening in the bottom of the hull for things to exit from? Gordon Smith. Graham Sweeney, my guess, and that's, of course, in reference to the hole that they had in the bottom of their boat last time down in Auckland. My guess is American Magic has issues with water ingress at the cyclers' hatches. The result is a non-permanent cover. They submitted the inquiry to test the rules. Also, huge change in how kickoffs. Fog machine, the kickoffs back in American football. I don't think so, Graham, but maybe we shall. I have my antenna. I have my as
but I mean,
Peter Montgomery used to say, I have my men in the field and some women too.
Yes.
You were saying
that cover will not keep water out.
I don't think so either. I think it will a little bit, Julia. Will a little bit, but I agree with you. It's porous. It's honeycomb. I think.
Yeah.
I think it is. Maybe the honeycomb is not porous. Maybe it's not able to allow anything through it.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe there's a very thin film, like, honeycomb.
Honeycomb.
What was that? Were you going to play the violin or something there?
Yeah.
Far better to know before the LV, Graham is saying. Clark, in the words of Yogi Berra, we'll all be smarter when we know more.
Oh, thank you, Clark.
I'll have a one here hopefully on Tuesday. This thing may be settled. I wouldn't be surprised, gang, if they are done and dusted with this issue. The Rules Committee will have ruled by then, because the Rules Committee are motivated to get this done as quickly as possible, to wash their hands of it, but also so that the team, if they have to make a change, or if the other teams
After
want to make a change
Yeah.
because they didn't think it was legal, and now they can see that it is legal if that's the way they rule.
Mhm.
Julie Aarons, I think safety may be an issue, but it's a tempest in a teapot. We'll let her have the final word on that because I think that, Julia, is a pretty good summary.
Yes,
You agree?
I agree.
Okay, now back to TV and the schedule because it's all starting on Thursday. As we told you on the show on Tuesday and before, in fact, it's a single round robin starting Thursday, running through Sunday. And the top two after the round robin advance to one final race on Sunday. And it's 1 point for each win. So if you are racing each of the other 5 teams once, the max is 5 points. The jury can take points away. They can ding you a point under the match racing rules for a collision that you could have avoided, yada, yada. There's probably some other point penalties available to the jury in the rules. I don't know for sure.
Mhm.
But normally, if you win all 5 of your matches, 6 teams, so you're racing each of the other 5 teams once. If you race each of those teams and win each of your matches, you're through. And then the next team's going to be through on a loss or 2. And if 2 teams tie in the number of wins, then the tiebreak will be based on who beat who in that head-to-head match.
But and only one round robin.
Only one round robin. Only a single round robin. Speaking of which, Alex Hayworth saying, so teams don't get even start entries on port and starboard. Correct. So it's luck of the draw, but I think you won't find too much of an advantage on entering because remember, they do that kind of different. It's different from what standard match racing does where they come in at either end of the starting line. One's coming over here from East Jockstrap or on the right-hand side looking upwind, and the other's coming from, and it's kind of because they don't want boats coming together in the middle of the starting line like we did with the catamaran and the trimaran in Valencia in 2010. That was a madness. Okay, let's all lay down who we will think will win the cup. Well, funny you should mention that, Jody, because we're going to get to that. And I just a little more on television because I'm distressed to learn that the television availability, which is out on the America's Cup events, on the americascup.com website, they have a facility for showing you country by country what is available when. In every other America's Cup country, meaning the 5, everything except the States, you can watch it live, whether in the UK, France, New Zealand, or Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say France? Yes, you can watch it live. Here, for example, is the UK's. You can watch it live on the AC website. It's the streaming to the website. You can watch it on Facebook. You can watch it on YouTube. TNT Sports and Eurosport have rights, and they'll be covering it live as well. Live. And, of course, everybody's got access to it. It's not behind a paywall.
Mm-hmm.
Same for all the other America's Cup countries, the countries from which a team comes. Same for Spain. Same for most of the rest of the countries in the world, except, Julia.
Oh, no.
Yes, except the U.S. And in the U.S., there's a full replay 24 hours later. Or you can watch it live on ESPN Plus, which is their streaming live stream service behind a paywall. It costs $11 a month. There's different deals and different packages.
Yeah.
But even I checked your DirecTV.
Doesn't have it.
You don't have ESPN Plus. It's
No.
probably unless you're paying I don't know what you're paying up there for your big TV package. And I'm not paying for the premium sports package here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in my apartment. So I've got to go on and pay the additional money, or I've got to use my VPN to then go on and get access to another country to watch it live. And I haven't decided what I'm going to do. And then you will ask, well, what about the watch parties? I am a little reluctant to go live with a watch party on Zoom. I have my lawyer studying this. I have others studying this to see whether we're going to get a copyright strike somehow, some way.
Yeah, good.
And I don't want to get people upset at us early on here. I don't think it's a problem, but the fact that it's not live to air here in the U.S. and how New York Yacht Club, and I know they're mad as hell about it. They're not amused. Their sponsors are not amused. I mean, why would they be?
No.
Now the paywall, on the other hand, the paywall, $11 a month, is not, and we're only talking about a couple months. I mean, 3 months tops, is not that onerous.
Yeah, that's probably the best answer.
Replay only and paywalls in the U.S. So much for outreach. Yeah, right. Replying to Andrew McIrvin, lend us a tenner, Squire. A VPN. Yeah, we can use a VPN, and that's probably what I will do rather than paying the bloody $11 a month or whatever it is for ESPN Plus.
Don't we have a automatic VPN?
I have a VPN subscription. It's not automatic, but I pay something for it, and I I have it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which one I'm currently using, but I do have a VPN.
Yeah.
And we had the VPN because for a while I needed the VPN to watch Sydney Hobart.
Yeah. That right?
Right. Mm-hmm. But I don't need that now because they stream Sydney Hobart. They're live on whatever it is, channel 9 or 7. 7.
Mm-hmm.
Color 7. And they still stream it to the internet. And remember, we were watching both on 7, they go to, and on 9, and so why not watch on your TV and Zoom on the mobile? Well, what we might do, Graham. Chris Odorowski, there's Commodore Odorowski.
Wow, how nice.
Former president of the Cruising Club of America, brilliant sailor, past Commodore of Seattle Yacht Club. Hello, Commodore Odorowski. Come join them, he and his wife, Sean, in Barcelona on Aphrodite, which is his beautiful, remind me of the name. It's a big boat, 70-footer, I think 60-something. Yeah. And that's Chris and Sean. And you remember them, they were two of the only people, special invites to my 70th birthday party, because Chris he and I have essentially the same birthday. He's a couple, 3 days younger or older than I can't remember which. I think a couple days younger.
No.
Bing Bong is wondering, who is the commentator for ESPN Plus, same as YouTube or some ESPN guy? That's also a good question. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a 68-footer. It's a beautiful Swan 68 that the Odorowskis have. And, of course, Chris and Andrew are good friends. They were roommates somewhere along the line, I guess maybe here at the Stag Cruise in 2023. And what we might do is I may drag my sorry you-know-what out of bed early because it's 5 a.m. here. And we might do a Zoom watch party without sending to you all the video.
Yeah.
If we just, if we do the Zoom watch party, there's nothing that's illegal about us talking to what we are seeing and watching, in your case, free to air, or in our case, through a VPN or through something.
Mm-hmm. That would work.
So
if it works.
That would work. We might do a Zoom watch party next Thursday, try it, and then we can all talk. And then as Bing Bong, who is young William Sangmeister, is saying, if that commentary is croutonic, we can all turn that down and then do our own commentary. I didn't say Aphrodite, did I? Aphrodite. Did I say Aphrodite? Well, it depends if you're Latin or whatever it is. Try to say it correctly. It's such a beautiful name.
Yes.
Aphrodite, right?
Yes.
But okay. Who is this? Now we got Umar. I stopped them a minute ago. It was somebody else. I stopped these croutons. I'm going to block her right now too, Julia.
Good idea.
Block user on Facebook. Add to block list and restream chat. There, gone. Other comments here. If it's ESPN, we might hope for Gary. No, Gary's not doing it, he told me. But we might be hampered as he was in the Olympics by having to do it remotely. That was awful. David James, speaking facts, although I think Gary might be NBC only. Well, he did the Olympics on NBC. He used to do it for ESPN. Okay, so that's the lay of the land. My current thinking is to do a watch party, at least on Thursday, see how it goes, see how you all feel about it, and we'll do a Zoom, and I'll give you the Zoom link and so on. I'll put it up on my personal Facebook page and the SI Facebook page. We'll sign up. We'll come to the studio. Julie, you going to come down?
Sure.
At 4 a.m?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's going to get you up and get you dressed and all that? You going to get your lady to come in at 4?
No.
Okay.
I may not be dressed,
You
but I'll
may,
be here.
well, we'd have a real viewership then.
Yeah, right.
You come down in your nightie.
Not a nightie, nice.
You got to come down in a nightie then, and you still have to wear a scarf though. Okay, yeah, like the old days, could only listen on the radio in New Zealand. Peter Blake Ez. I wonder who that is on YouTube. Welcome, Peter. I don't know if it's Peter. P. Blake is. Okay, that's the deal, and of course it's live deal. This is one good thing about what they're doing. I think I'm believe I have discerned. I haven't talked to Mr. Dalton himself. Maybe Julie can call him up. Julie Aarons can call him up after the show and ask him. I believe all the racing throughout this Cup cycle is going to be at 1400 local, 1400 CET, which is 1300 in British summertime, which is 1200 UTC, which is 0800 here on the East Coast and 0500 here in San
Great for everybody
Francisco.
except the West.
Well, and it's a little early for us, but 0500 is not. It's really the tough thing is for New Zealand, where it's going to be 100 for them. It's 0500 here, and it's it's midnight in New Zealand. It's only bad, really. Okay, technically this is above my pay grade. Just do private Zoom. Pajama party. Okay, that's the deal, Julie. If you come in your pajamas, we'll all come in our pajamas. Okay, that's the gig. That's as I understand it. And then to Jody's point, he wants to rank who we think are going to, is this to win the regatta, right? This is coming up now. Who do we think of these 6 teams? Let's rank them 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st in this upcoming regatta starting next Thursday. Do you want to wait until Tuesday to do this based on this protest outcome? Or do you want to do it now? What saith all of you?
Well, we could do it now, and if something changes, then we could have another one.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's a good idea, Julie. We could do it now, and we can always revise these as we go along, and of course we will.
Yeah.
Based on what we see in the results of this first regatta, and then we get into the LVC, the Challenger Selection Series, aka Louis Vuitton Cup. What's the difference between Ineos B and a tea bag? Is that a joke, Alex Hayworth? Let's see, where's the punchline? Yeah, Bing Bong, I agree. Just praying we're not going to see Todd Harris trying to make uninteresting things interesting. By the way, I didn't put it in the show, there is a video of that Stevie Morrison, who is the sidekick to Todd Harris and the good Australian lady and the Kiwi lady. And that guy, Stevie Morris, there is a video of him calling, I guess, the final race here in San Francisco that SailGP put up on their website or their YouTube channel today. And it's awful. The guy he looks like he's fulminating. Looks like he's going to have a stroke. Hey, here they come into the starting line. And I didn't run it because it just gives me the willies.
Oh, no.
Not only hear him, but then have to watch him in action, Julia.
Oh, I was going to think you were going to say it was really good. No, it wasn't.
Okay, here we go. They're rolling. No, it was not good.
Yeah.
It was the same old hyperbolic, over the top. As I say, I'm waiting for him to foam at the mouth. There's Clark Chapin, first one in. France 6, Ineos 5. Clark, are you going to record everyone else's? So we've got some kind of a tally list here. France 6, Ineos 5, Dunno 4-3, ETN Z2, and American Magic. Clark, you're not a homer, are you? American Magic 1. And this is the results of this regatta coming up, or so Clark thinks. Julia, do you want to go next?
No.
You want to wait, or do you want to do it?
I haven't thought about it at all, so I'd rather think about it for a minute.
Clark, that was a pretty bold. France 6, Ineos 5. He doesn't know who's 4. Oh, come on, Clark. ETN Z2, so he's not sure who between the Swiss and
Italians.
And the Itals, that's right. Okay, thank you for not showing that cartoon exhaled. Yeah, okay, Edward. ETNZ by a mile, Alex Hayworth is saying. Andrew Wilson, I hope the Brits win, but I thought that the last couple of times. Peter Stevenson, aka Pedro Foiling
Oh, look at
Sailor, has also got the Americans top, New Zealand second, UK third, France fourth, and fifth and sixth. I don't know what that means. Andrew McIrvin, Mr. Doctor's got the Kiwis on top, the Americans second, Ineos third, the Italians fourth.
That looks pretty good to me.
Several of you think there's going to be some serious sandbagging, including Stingray. The Brits seem to be cursed, unfortunately, Ed Worley thinks. Gordon Smith, France 6, US 5. Wow. Alinghi 4, the Italians 3rd, Ineos, the Brits 2nd, and ETNZ 1st. Okay. Clark, are you writing these down or doing screen grabs? Please. I think the French beat Ineos just because the copycat strategy will be better than the Mercedes concept. That's bing bong. LVC final will be American Magic and Luna Rossa, and American Magic wins the whole shebang. Pete is a great designer. Pete Melvin, you're talking about? Britt Ward. There's Fritz Mueller's list. NZ on top, the Swiss second, the French third, Great Britain fourth, the USA fifth, and the Italians sixth.
Oh, my.
Well, you got a lot of confidence in the French, Fritz.
Well,
Ted Ryman, Brits first, and all the others will capsize and get towed home.
Oh, thanks a lot, Ted.
Okay, Clark's going to go back and gather them up later. J. Frederick Bland is saying, USA, USA, USA. Here we go. So
I really love the way the USA boat looks.
It's the low freeboard, the sleekness.
Mm-hmm. I do.
You do. Okay. It sounds like a Trump rally. USA, USA. Okay, you want my picks?
Yep.
My latest rankings, here they are. Based on everything I know and am hearing, and this may surprise you a little bit, I'm not as high on Alinghi as I once was. In sixth, I have the French. I think they are a day late and $1 short, and I don't think they are going to be all that competitive, although I may be surprised. In fifth, I'm sorry to say, I think it's my earlier, I was a fanboy, but I think their sailing team has not come to the fore. I think the Swiss, Alinghi, at this stage, let's see what happens later on.
Yeah.
Are going to be fifth. I think. Fourth, I'm sorry, you Brits, but I'm thinking the Brits are going to be fourth, are not going to be in the hunt. You know, apparently they've been varying their skeg a little bit. I don't know if they think, but they are apparently, they're quick downwind, or so one hears. The Brits have some speed downhill. We shall see. In third, I think it's the Italians. They are actually not too bad, up and down, or so one hears. And I'm not being just a homer, but I think, Julia, you like that lower freeboard boat of the Americans, of New York Yacht Club's American Magic, or Magic as Tom Morris calls him. I think they are going to be in the finals against ETNZ. There is no second. And the Brits are, Jody's been hearing the same things I am, that the Brits are not tacking well. They're slow in the corners, or as they say in Sail GP, the maneuvers. Why can't we say tacks and jibes, please? Rob Fry, this is an astute comment, will depend on wind strength. I think that's probably true as well. And God forbid it's light and super light and bumpy.
Oh, and Hamish said sandbags first.
I don't know how much sandbagging will go on, Julia. I mean, Hamish, you know, every time we say that, Dennis was the classic and famously good sandbagger. I don't know, because the competitive juices start to flow. You really want to get to have a shot in that final match against your opposition. I think it gives you some real mo. We always said that, we're not going to sail that hard. Then the guys get out there and the juices start flowing.
Yes, I think it'd be better.
Stingray agrees with me, and of course that leaves the Kiwis number one. And again, that's taking into consideration any sandbagging that might go on. I I've been involved in this game since 1980, and there always is some sandbagging.
Mm.
And again, if one team, here's when the sandbagging happens, as you saw in Auckland last time. One team gets way out ahead in a race day when there's steady air. Because if it's not steady, you can get way out ahead, fall off the foils, and the team gets on the foils behind you, and they might be a kilometer or two behind you.
Right.
And you're screwed with a capital F, Julia. I didn't get a finger wag. See that? I even cut to her camera 3 thinking I might get a finger wag. I said screwed with a capital F. Come on.
Freedom.
Freedom. Yes, that's what I meant. I feel sorry for Sir Ben, which is probably a bad sign, Andrew Watson will say. Nice to have you on here, Andrew, and the comments. Stuart Childerley. Hello, Stuart. C-State will be an issue. I totally agree. That's another very astute comment, I think, along with the earlier one about wind strength from Rob Fry, who, of course, is the father of the superb sailor and Fozy. He's been on the show any number of times. Leonard Leo Takahashi. So that's my picks. I promised you that, and we've delivered. I don't know what you think. Stingray agrees. I think others of you have quite a different lineup, so it'll be fun.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to this. The Cup is finally upon us, Julia.
Yes.
A week from yesterday. And I tell you what, though, over at the Yacht Club last night at St. Francis, and we had a big turnout for this stag committee, 20 people, give or take, maybe a couple fewer, 18. And then in the bar ahead of time, it's Shucking Thursday. They shuck the oysters in the bar over there on Thursday. So there's a lot of people in the bar.
Yeah.
And of course, there's only one bar now operating over there because they're rehabbing the downstairs bar.
Yeah.
And everybody's up there and they're talking about everything but the America's Cup.
Yeah.
And then I had dinner afterwards with the Commodore and a couple other senior series people.
Yeah.
And they could care less about the Cup. And these are senior series racing sailors. We've had the Cup here in their front yard. We have Sail GP. They're frankly quite a bit more interested in Sail GP. And when's that starting up again in December? And what do you think? And that's coming here again and yada yada. And there is not much interest that I am finding, sadly, because I love the Cup. Ed Worley loves the Cup.
Yep.
Sadly. Jody Shields says the winner will be a boat that is black in their hull color.
Thank you, Jody.
Yeah, Steve Gruber's saying there is a lot. Tom Morrison, and I think he's gotten himself a little over the top, Julia, on this safety thing. But he's the production quality of his YouTube videos is good. Bless his heart that he's doing it. And I hope he's getting promotion. I hope he's selling some sales because he's spending a lot of time being a YouTuber. Yeah. And he's young. He's a young guy. I agree with your club members. I'd rather watch TP52s, Clayton Embley is saying. Always love the Cup. Yeah, the Cup is the Cup. It'll always be the Cup. It's
the magic of the Cup, but not necessarily the sailing.
Jody says, you're welcome, Julie. He's always here to help. Okay, enough. There's my pick. I may even put that up as my cover photo on my Facebook later this afternoon or tomorrow morning when I do that.
Oh, you're being really brave.
Well, I'm willing to put my you-know-what on the table and see if anybody smacks it with a
I'm disappointed that the Italians aren't sort of racing around better.
Well, they're okay.
Yeah, I know.
They're okay, but let's see. I love the Cup too, but they've gone off the design corner into a design corner that doesn't appeal to the rest of the sailing community. Yeah, people don't relate to it, sadly, Clark Chapin. Andrew Watson, I never miss an episode. Tom and Julia, but usually on replay, will be
live.
We'll be live more often, especially on Tuesdays. Yeah, I think the Cup, Hamish Ross, bring back those Irish sailing commentators. I told you I ran that video. Did we talk about that on the show? I was talking, or it was a Monday Lunch Bunch. I ran that video, a month or so ago, some weeks ago, that Irish commentator from the 2012 Olympics, the Olympic horn. It was so funny. And we got a strike, a copyright strike, because the IOC bought that video and have tried to stop anyone from playing it on YouTube or anywhere else. And of course, it keeps showing up on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah.
The Olympic horn, he called it. The Olympic horn. Oh, we hear the Olympic horn. So I'm not going to run that video on this show. Maybe we'll run it some other time. I guess I could run it on my Facebook page. The IOC isn't going to come block my Facebook page. The hard part so far is to see what conditions the different boats have their sweet spots in.
Mm-hmm.
Julia, in which?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the E-Scouts, they could cut budgets if they use remote control boats, which would be more relevant to many of us. Good point, David James. Okay, shall we move ahead? I do have this day in history. Turn that on the slide down, that lead-in music. I like this topic, and I use it more. I've used it more than once. But what happened? Oops, let me back up, Julia. On this day in history, the 16th of August, 1858. So it's in that America's Cup Zero era.
Mm-hmm.
The Cup's race actually in 51, and then the deed of gift, as Hamish Ross will remind all of us, was finally written and donated to the New York, that is signed and given to the New York Yacht Club. The Cup donated in 57. And then this happened in 58. There is your first clue. Distinguished looking gentleman.
Oh, he's a scientist who
He is. You're right, and it's not Alexander Graham Bell. It's not Morse for more. Samuel F.B. Morse.
I was thinking of one of them.
Keith Richard was not born. I wasn't born. Julia wasn't born. An invention of Marconi. No, David James has got it. I think David does the research in advance. Yes, it's not Marconi. No, it's not. Okay. Do you know who that is, David James? Do you know who that is? Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans? It's not Marconi, Graham Sweeney. It's not Queen Victoria. But David James has the right answer. Queen Victoria in the UK telegraphed President James Buchanan. No, it's not Morse. Here's your second clue. And he was the father of this. Blake Middleton's got it. The first transatlantic cable.
Aha.
And if you zoom in on the lower corner of that graphic, you'll see that Mr. Thompson was his name, William Thompson, who was quite a bright and accomplished gentleman in a lot of these guys, Renaissance men that they were, and women of that era. Great Britain in the 1800s, and he was ultimately the father of the Great Atlantic Cable. And this was the back and forth. There were two competing visions for this. It's quite an interesting story. And they finally got the cable laid, and it didn't work very well, and then they almost immediately relayed it. But they did get, on this day in history, they did get a message sent. William Thompson was one of the foremost scientists and engineers of his age, born in Belfast. He studied at Cambridge before becoming a professor at Glasgow, where he remained for 50 years.
Wow.
As an academic, he published more than 600 scientific papers, and his most famous, where he proposed the absolute scale of temperature, now called the Kelvin. And why was it called Kelvin? Because he was later Lord Kelvin, thanks to Queen Vic. Queen Vicky. Thompson became famous to the public through his involvement in the laying of the transatlantic telegraph cable in the 50s and 60s, and for his inventions, including the Kelvin compass. I don't know what the Kelvin compass was. Somebody out here will know. Yeah, Lord Kelvin, Hamish knows, Hamish Ross. And a sounding machine. In 1866, he was knighted by Queen Victoria and created the first Baron Kelvin of Largs, Scotland, presumably, 1892. So these three were instrumental in making this happen. On this date in history, Queen Victoria telegraphed the U.S. President James Buchanan. I thought his reply was interesting. Quote, "It is a triumph more glorious because far more useful to mankind than was ever won by conqueror on the field of battle."
How nice.
Who wrote that? He must have had a pretty good speechwriter, old
Yeah.
James Buchanan.
Yes, yes.
On this day in history, 16th of August, 1858. Graham Sweeney's making a joke. Many cables have been laid since.
Yes, they have.
Gets us to the last leg. Thank goodness we're an hour, Julia. It was going to be a short show, right? We're still an hour and 40 minutes in here.
Yes.
2:40 here, 14:40 in San Francisco, and it's getting late in Europe, but they're up on Saturday morning in Auckland and Sydney, almost midnight for Ted Ryman in Cape Town, and we are to the last leg. And it's just really to wish all of our friends between Europe and here in the States in Bermuda. We told you on Tuesday about this hurricane. Those of you in Bermuda, it gets no attention here in the States to speak of, once it's not going to make landfall here. But it's going to hit tonight, a direct hit on Bermuda. Okay, it's Cat 2, which isn't the end of the world, but it's still Cat 2 is what, 95 or more miles per hour?
That's 100.
What's 105 miles an hour. So, it's real wind. And I managed to find a CBS report from this morning, Julia, on your favorite show.
Oh, good.
CBS Mornings. And the announcer, the guy who's in Bermuda doing the stand-up,
right?
He says, well, yeah, we even found, we got to a marina and we found the Commodore. Well, what he was, you'll see in this video, he's at the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club, because my friends at the Royal Bermuda were telling me yesterday that they were in this massive, tried to clear all the boats out of the harbor right in front of the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club. So this guy found the Commodore in the marina at what is clearly the Royal Bermuda. Have a look.
Now, the latest on Hurricane Ernesto, which continues to strengthen in the Atlantic. Puerto Rico is still dealing with the damage from the storm's impact this week. More than 200,000 homes and businesses have no electricity or running water. The hurricane's next target is Bermuda. Forecasters predict powerful winds and torrential rain starting later today. Dave Malkoff is in Bermuda. Dave, good morning. How are people there preparing?
Good morning, Vlad. Time has run out right now for getting prepared for Hurricane Ernesto. Look out here into the North Atlantic. You are looking south. That is basically the exact path that Hurricane Ernesto is coming up. Hurricane warnings are now up. The airport will close later tonight before the worst of the hurricane arrives. We saw long lines there, people trying to get out. We also stopped by one marina where the Commodore was there. He was telling us they had a grueling day trying to move boats out and strongly securing some in the harbor right there. So they'll ride it out with some of those boats. We also caught up with one Bermudian who was getting ready to ride it out, moving all the outdoor furniture inside. You got to do that. You got to put up the storm shutters as well. And he's protecting his house from as much damage as he can. So the last place that this hit was in Puerto Rico, and they are still dealing with the power outages. And a lot of the homes there have not been upgraded structurally since Maria. So they have a lot of structural damage there and potential structural damage from hurricanes that spawn tornadoes coming through. We have a different kind of structural system here in Bermuda where most of the building codes are up to 150 miles an hour. So those will be more protected from some of these buildings here. But again, this is a big tornado, a big hurricane that can spawn tornadoes, and no building can sustain that. And we've also got all of the storm surge that can come through. So this is a big day right here.
I don't know.
All right, we'll keep watching.
I don't know where
Thank you very much.
Where he found the Commodore, where they found this guy. There was somebody local yokel probably that they put a CBS jacket over the guy and said, "Go find a Commodore." Yeah, Bermuda, they've been through a few of these before, and as the gentleman said, the buildings are hurricane proof up to 150. Ernesto has always been a bastard. I hope Ernesto does well. I hope he does. Yeah, he's excited, Clay Embley is saying, and I hope to all of our friends, seriously, it's never fun. And when we lived in Newport, Rhode Island back in the day, my wife and daughter, the daughter wasn't already born yet, but we went through a couple of hurricanes in Newport, and it's not fun. Even by the time they get up there, they can wreak holy hell. I usually find the Commodore at the bar. As you did last night
with a
fog machine.
Yeah.
He found the Commodore and myself and another senior Sirius member.
Was it dark and stormy?
No, not me. I had a
DNS.
fake beer. Yeah, dark and stormy. That's the DNS. No, I didn't have a DNS. The Commodore was also very, what's the word I want? He was very low key last night and great at the committee meeting, as you know. Andrew Watson Calvinside. I don't know where that's going or coming. Okay, that's our last leg, and now we got the D block and Julia's favorite selection here. We got a bunch of these. Croutonic News Media reporting, the CBS News. It's not the same since Walter Cronkite, a great sailor and New York Yacht Club member, since he left CBS, retired, and then passed away. I had dinner with him just a few nights before he passed away. Yep, at New York Yacht Club, in fact. Okay, the Olympics are still haunting us.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
The crossbar appears to have been dislodged by the athlete's penis. The announcer says, and the lady says, so is this the men's or the women's pole vault? Huh?
Oh.
And there are now all these videos showing up of guys dislodging the pole in pole vault or in just high jump. I mean, it happens. Sometimes you knock it off with your elbow, and sometimes you knock it off with your
I will admit
other
it
accoutrement.
never occurred to me.
Oh, it does. RBYC bar is hurricane proof. Andrew McIrvin says, I hope so. Okay, that is courtesy of Jody. You had to know Jody.
Oh, yes.
Would send, is either Ryman or Shields. Either Jody or Ted would send that one. Now, this one is also from Jody. For the next 2 kilometers. I don't think that sign is meant to look like
I think it is.
Kangaroos fornicating.
Reproduction.
I think it's just that somebody's memed the signs. I don't know. Jody would know, but he sent that. Speaking of animals, a little social commentary here, Julia, on our election. Once elected, I will be vegetarian, he's telling the sheep. The wolf is telling the sheep.
Oh, yes.
And that's from another St. Francis member, last night, Mike Mahoney, who's doing yeoman's work for the Stag Cruise again this year. Thank you, Mike. And yeah, with Ms. Harris, Vice President Harris, making promises today, Julia. $6,000 for child, what do you call that? Tax credit.
Yeah.
And man, on and on and on. The election season is fully upon us.
Oh, yeah, you're going to get $100,000 on everybody's plate, one way or the other.
A chicken in every pot.
You're right.
Right. Okay, this one, now we got to get to our sport and get to sailing. That's one thing Clark Chapin will attest. I was world class at backing up trailers, as most sailors are. Most small boat sailors can back their trailers up pretty well at the sooner or later, but we'll back a trailer. It's funny to go to a marina. It's not funny, but to watch somebody who's never backed up a trailer or hasn't
it's hard.
Much experience.
Yeah.
It's hard to get used to it. By the time I was 14 or 15, I could back up a bloody trailer with the tractor at the club. We'll back up the trailer for $5. Peter Taylor in New York City sent that. And then could be our mantra. I could replace our final slide beam on our last slide of the show with this one. Life without sailing is like a dull pencil. There is no point.
That's nice.
Nice. And you know where that came from? The Fuzzy Fozzy, although I think he's Shay, Rick Bannerow, and the superb photographer that he is. That's wrapping up our D block today. And that's nice. And wrapping up the finish line, Julia, where we are now well and truly. And you like to say...
Yes, please. Like, follow, and share. Sharing increases our audience by lots.
And you can give one final finger shake to Peter Stevenson, Pedro Foiling Sailor. It's important to make sure you have lead in your pencil.
Right.
Give him the finger shake.
No.
Oh, come on. Need a rest. Monica Diaz needs a rest. Monica, I hope you're holding down the fort for us in Barcelona. I know that our Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club and by now esteemed Fozzie is headed over there to see you. I hear, one hears Hamish, not Hamish. I didn't put the slide in, but I'll give him a little bit of a credit here. One hears that Magnus the Magnificent.
It's got to be there.
No, one hears he's writing another book.
Oh, well, he knows. Yeah.
He's writing another book. Maybe he told us that.
Yeah, he did.
But he hasn't been on the show in a long time because Mr. Dalton says he's got to stay away from the show until he's done working. Because, he's working for ACE.
Yeah.
He's writing all, and it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Writing all their press releases. This book's good. If you haven't read it, if you don't already have it, get it, because no, it's good. It is good, Julia.
It is.
And he's apparently writing one on this cup.
I was going to say, he told us he was going to do that.
I guess he did, and I think it wasn't on the air, though. I think he told us that in back and forth here.
Yeah.
Alistair Murray, thanks, Tom and Julia. Have a nice Saturday morning, Alistair and Hamish Ross and all the rest of you down under. I thought there was no second book. I had a big fire. Oh, Monica Diaz. Are you okay, Monica? She had a big fire at home. Oh, dear. Need a rest. Okay, I hope you're okay. It's hot. It's it's the height of the summer in Barcelona, and I remember living in Valencia this time of year. We were in the pool, 4 or 5 times a day to cool off, then back up working in the house, and then in my little study there.
Yeah.
Okay, as Julia says, like, follow, and share. Of course, comments are welcome, even a replay, and we sure do appreciate all of you who give us a few bucks a month or more via Patreon or otherwise. Some people just send a check. Some people send us a bottle of booze, or if we start doing these early. In fact, maybe we get Rich Fishback, instead of sending us dinner, as he used to do when we were doing live streams from Auckland, because we were up late at midnight or whatever it was. Maybe he'll send us breakfast. Send in some breakfast for us when we're doing early morning
I think
Zoom watch parties.
More likely that at 7 o'clock we'll get one from downstairs.
Downstairs?
Upstairs.
Oh, upstairs. Oh, your morning lady will come in.
Yeah.
And fix us breakfast?
Sure.
Oh, there's an idea. I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat till after the show. I'm going to do that next. That's next on my agenda after we wrap this show up. Thank you to everybody who gave us audio, video, and images for today's show. Julia, final thoughts?
No, I'm looking forward to getting the cup started and over with, I must say.
Over with?
Yeah.
Why over with? You don't like this, do you?
No, I do, but it just seems like it takes forever to get into it, and it'll be exciting to have it.
It's been a long time coming. What was that song? What was your group song on the album? Thanks, everybody. We hope you have a great rest of your weekend, if it's already started, and if not, have a great weekend. In the meantime, go sailing. Sail fast, sail safe, have fun. Ciao for now. And see you Tuesday.